Most entry-level jobs, especially in tech, are asking for 1 to 3 years of experience. But it really doesn't make sense. An entry-level job should be really a 0-year experience because it is an entry-level job. We're really missing a point here. The point of asking 1 to 3 years of experience for an entry-level job is for employers to know that you have the skills to get the job done. And you can prove this by having a portfolio website. You can show that you have the skills and you know what to do when it comes to creating a project. And that's how you can get a 1 to 3 years of experience entry-level job with no experience.
Juicy! Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Nerd Chronicles. This your host, the socially awkward nerd, Christian Paul, is up in the building. So I've been watching a bunch of video content that talks about, the crazy oversaturation of the tech market, oversaturation of jobs that's related to data science, data analytics, data visualization, computer vision, deep learning, machine learning, AI, however it may be. Hearing from certain people that, the economy is basically getting real tight. Everyone's literally heavily reluctant, and there's so many applicants coming by, and companies don't want to actually pay like even newbies or even well-experienced people that much money. It's a mess. It is a complete mess. And it's just a shame that the market is currently dealing with the route that it's in now, especially for folks that are looking for entry-level positions like myself that's looking to break in. But the sad part about it is the reason why they want to try and deal with someone that has 3 years worth of experience, especially on an entry level, is part of the reason why is that a lot of companies don't want to try and put too much risk on someone that's unproven in the middle of a tight economy, and they're worried about their own survival and they're worried about their own jobs. So again, it's like a dog-eat-dog world, literally every man for himself type of ordeal, especially when you have people literally trying to pick recruiters and actually trying to hire, and folks are literally trying to do everything they can to literally try and survive up in a job that they currently work at. Companies don't even want to hire as much as they used to up in the past. It's a very, very, very unfortunate situation regardless of how high education is, whether it's a bachelor's, whether it's a master's, or even a PhD. They do not care at all. They're more worried about the real world experience or the hands-on experience, that they could just feel more safe in the hopes that they can have like a good investment that can literally basically bounce back. They can try and get some good returns on in some years from now, which is real unfortunate. But that does not mean that all hope is lost. And I want to discuss, ladies and gentlemen, I basically found this salary site straight from Kaggle, where you have all the full data sets of global AI, machine learning, data salaries. Basically, you name it, it's basically there. They have a bunch of single table, a bunch of side information. They have everything structured, and they talk about the work year, which they're discussing what's the year salary was paid, experience level, and what's the experience level in the job in a year with the possible values. EM represents entry level, MI represents mid level, SE represents senior, EX represents executive. Right? And employment type: PT part-time, FT full-time, CT contract, FL freelance. And you see all the information that's actually self-explanatory that you see right here, in which they have the employee have the county of residence mainly at the time, in which they have all the information that's mainly listed below. And they talk about remote ratio that's basically done, company size, SML represents the large stuff, is actually completely obvious. We are actually going to deal with some of the work that we have shown together to actually give at least you, the general public, or any other folks that's up in the data science field, some information on if you want to try and negotiate your pay, or if you're actually trying to look for a specific job that actually may fit your needs or maybe fits your environment that may be fully comfortable with you, depending on the environment or amount of terrain that you want to be in, or the type of role that you want to get. We are going to have some fun with this quick data set right here.
senior data scientist with 5 years experience, but my journey to become a data scientist was not easy. Here's my story. I got my bachelor's in international relations, then started an MBA in business analytics. I got disappointed with how little analytics I was learning, so I quit after a year. Then I started my master's in information systems. I finished this master's, but I was still disappointed with how little practical knowledge I learned. I took lots of online courses and created a killer portfolio. I worked at a startup very briefly, and then I got my first paid job as a senior data scientist. I was able to achieve this with my portfolio and the projects that I created in my portfolio. It was not easy, but with hard work and dedication, I was able to achieve my goals. I hope my story inspires you to pursue your dreams, no matter how difficult they may seem at first.
Juicy! Ladies and gentlemen, what we have here is the average salary of the overall title by location in terms of US dollars when it comes to yearly salary, right? So if I could try to scroll down to various sites, not just various states, but basically all over the country, you'll be able to see the average salary of which position is definitely needed for someone that's really looking for a job up in the realms, whether it's either entry level or someone who is a director, knowing to try and see how they can try to match their worth up in the global economic scale, up in the global economic market. And you're seeing all of these averages that you see, yearly averages that you're seeing literally going on all the way out. A lot of companies are very aware of this. A lot of companies are very aware of how tight the current market is currently going on, especially when it comes to all the tension, especially when it comes to the high inflation prices. This is part of the reason why you're seeing a lot of companies are very reluctant to actually pay people what they truly worth, and don't want to actually try and get big risks and as much entry level prospects or any potential employees due to the fact that they don't know how they're going to turn out a couple of years from now. Now let's start to dig more into the specifics by level of position.
Current job market like for analytics and data science roles. So I've been talking to a lot of folks in my network. It has been predominantly more experienced folks with like 5 years or more of experience going after maybe senior roles or even team lead roles. I have talked to a few folks who are entry level as well. For the experienced level folks, things are starting to pick up. For entry level folks, it still seems like it's extremely hard to get an interview. One thing that's interesting though, talking to the experienced folks who are reporting that, they are starting to get more interviews and more responses to resumes, that there's been a big shift from what they were seeing last year compared to this year. Last year, tech companies were still hiring like crazy, and it was relatively easier compared to now to get an interview with a tech company. With tech companies come big tech salaries. So last year, lots of folks were hearing, pretty generous salaries from these tech companies. This year, it seems like tech companies still are not hiring as much. So most of the interviews folks are getting are for non-tech companies. And those don't usually pay the same as tech companies. And so a lot of folks are reporting that the salaries they're seeing now are maybe 20 to 30% lower than what they were hearing as the average salary last year. Another thing is that a lot of these non-tech companies still prefer hybrid. It's also a lot easier to get an interview for a hybrid job because the candidate pool is just going to be smaller because there's geographic limitations, versus a remote role is going to be a lot more competitive because there's going to be a lot more candidates. And so a lot of folks are reporting that they're getting further along in interview cycles for these hybrid roles. So that's what I'm hearing right now. Things, always continue to change and shift with the job market. I think especially now that summer is coming to a close, companies might ramp up their hiring in September and October, to try to get things in before the end of the year. So we'll see if things continue to change. If you're interested in a career in data analytics, follow for more. I give tons of advice. I also have a free newsletter that you can subscribe to, linked from my profile.
Juicy! Ladies and gentlemen, what we have here is we have the average salary of thorough specific positions by type and level. So CT represents contract, as we stated earlier. FL represents freelance. Full FT represents full time, and PT represents part time. Now we understand about the contract position and everything, but I want to try and basically specifically focus more on the full time. Mainly with the entry level, these are the starting salaries, or even the average salary, when it comes to entry level, depending on what position that you aim to get. Now, when the experience mainly comes by, as the level comes high, you notice that it tends to get higher depending on certain positions. So you can scroll this all the way down. You know what I'm saying? The highest of it, if you do like a data science managing directing, $300,000 with ease. Now, if you're talking about mid-level, intermediate, it could basically go through all these various prices that you see here. When you have basically the experience, when you have senior level positions, if you're a director, you're talking about having these type of managerial positions that go up to, at times, $400,000 yearly. It's no joke. Literally, it's no joke. And we understand more about the part-time positions as well. But I want to say this. Companies are extremely aware of these type of salaries that they have to try to pay out. And they're very concerned about the economy. They're very concerned about inflation. All these other things. Right? That's why they're very hesitant to actually get literally new people up in their ranks, because that requires training them. That requires giving them more education. Actually trying to give them service and how they actually run things. Those are actual factors as to why they're a bit more hesitant on why they want to hire somebody that's new, that has lack of experience or lack of quote unquote real world experience, if you will. Well, in actuality, if you'd actually earn the experience, you still have to actually get the experience just to actually pick up the experience that's there. You still won't have to start somewhere regardless. And that's what a lot of them don't see. But then again, they're worried about their own behind. They're worried about their own survival. They fear that they're going to get laid off. So they're doing everything they can just to make sure that they don't get decked. So this is why they're tying the ropes. And this is one of the main reasons why. And yes, there are also other factors as well. Other forms of isms as to why that they may not be able to give someone a job depending on their situation, depending on that mindset of that particular company. So what would be a way to try to counter all this? Best way to counter something like this is get a very, very strong portfolio where you're able to thoroughly solve problems. Okay? You thoroughly solve problems on what you're trying to do. You're trying to solve problems on what you're trying to build, right? And then not only you have to actually show your work, not only you have to actually try and deal with your modeling, but also you have to thoroughly worry about how the heck you're going to literally try and describe the story that you're actually going to try and tell your industry or actually trying to tell the general public. Okay? You have to make sure that you actually show work that's literally straight to the point, so that's easier for someone that works in that particular industry to understand. So it's easier to see how what's the angle that they're actually looking to get, given the question they have, given the activity they're looking to model, given the activity they look to measure on certain trends. You need to have an outlet to really show your work. Not only show your work, but also present your work, right? For instance, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's YouTube, whether it's TikTok. I personally utilize, the Nerd Chronicles mainly to do a lot of showing work and actually explaining the story and actually telling the story based on the modeling that I'm literally looking to do, so that they have an idea of what they're getting themselves into. They have an idea of what the data sets are mainly about. I mainly do that for an example. That's one part of the main reason why I have the Nerd Chronicles mainly up in display, is because of that, right? You gotta present it in multiple ways as much as you can. YouTube would be a good start. LinkedIn is also a good start, but with the social media platforms, it requires a different set of strategy in order to actually keep the viewer mainly attentive. You also have to understand each and every single algorithm from various different social media sites on how they operate, how their viewers mainly get attention, how their viewers mainly actually get attracted, actually get hooked on some of the type of content they bring. It's a lot of factors go in. That's why some of this stuff in regards to YouTube, TikTok, Instagram is so unpredictable depending on that platform. Not only you have to actually worry about presenting yourself online, not only that, you have to actually look to connect with other folks online as well. Not just that, but also network in person within your area, within your metropolitan area. That go to a bunch of networking events. You actually go learn how to talk to people, learn how to speak with people with a personal tone, present your work towards them, show them what you do, show them what you mainly do for a living so they can try to learn how to build. You know what I mean? And also make sure you actually go through all these new conferences whenever they actually promote new technology or actually new techniques to actually develop modeling as well, which will be the most important part. Remember, we'll definitely try and guarantee you a new job in like a quick amount of time. No, but you'll eventually get there. Your first job up in the tech world, after I learned all this from my mentor who is a professional recruiter up at a security company that deals with tech for a couple of decades, is that the first tech job is always going to be the hardest because, you know, you're still solving out, you're still brushed up, you're still like learning, you're still naive based on the whole game. And a lot of companies are frightened and they see you as a huge risk on literally bringing you on because they have to actually literally have to pay to teach you. They have to literally pay to guide you on how they run things. They want to try and make sure that it's like a risk-reward situation. They want to try and make sure, you know, the juice is mainly worth the squeeze for a handful of years and you don't leave them within that. You know what I mean? And once you're actually trying to master this stuff, they fear you leaving them for other green passes up in their minds whenever you know your worth. And we never know what type of stuff you can definitely impact a company or even impact other co-workers literally down the line. But business is literally no joke. Business is extremely cutthroat, especially when it comes to the tech industry and any industry in general. But more so when it comes to the tech industry. If you know you feel you got some greener pastures, you know that you know your boss will definitely treat you right. You're definitely up in like a much better environment that you can definitely handle with like a much more comfortable setting. Don't hesitate to take the opportunity. You do what you feel is right for you. Do not worry about anybody else, not even your soon-to-be former employers or soon-to-be former company that you are with. Because at the end of the day, everyone is all about their own survival when it comes with business. Even in the YouTube space, everyone is mainly worried about their own survival. A lot of people mainly worried about how to grow their channel and all this other stuff. And some folks are literally just spooked out whenever they actually try to use their handles to actually show certain things, and they take a big issue with that. But as long as there's not any legal ramifications, as long as you're not violating any community guidelines, as long as you're not thoroughly disrespecting them in any way, or actually trying to troll them and make fun of them or anything like that, you should be good. You shouldn't even worry too much about certain folks and certain handles if you're actually doing some stuff in regards to fair use. And if they have an issue with that, that's their problem, that's their loss, that's their own business. That's not your concern. Your concern is survival. Your concern is development. Your concern is to try to break into the industry to the best way you possibly know how, and actually try to learn as best as you can, as much as you can, and actually stay up to the current trends that's basically going on up in the tech space. And I'm going to leave it at that, ladies and gentlemen. For more information in regards to these charts and in regards to these workbooks, you can either actually look into my GitHub in regards to those salaries that's actually been shown, or you can look into the specific sites on where the graphs actually came from, whichever is convenient for you. They'll be posted once the video mainly comes out, which by the end of this recording, I'm going to make sure I definitely get all this stuff mainly set up. Alright? Chris and Paul from the Nerd Chronicles is signing out. Y'all take care.
Well, I do not want this person to get any hate for this comment, but I've seen this comment on multiple of my videos, and I wanted to say my 2 cents. In my opinion, is really different to a lot of people, and it's also kind of harsh, but bear with me here. So a lot of people say that the computer science industry, job market, what have you, is oversaturated. According to these statistics that I found from Coursera, business is actually the most popular major. Computer and information sciences is 7th on this list, and it clears by a factor of 3 or 4. The reality is that if you are mundane, barely scrape by, don't really do anything to set yourself yourself apart, you're gonna feel like the job market's oversaturated. And you're gonna feel like, oh, it's the economy's fault, I'm not getting a job, all that other stuff. But part of the reason why I'm so passionate about this and why I'm giving so many tips to people on the internet for free is because I had internships during this bad economy. I am not special. I did not have that good of grades, no sorority recruitment or involvement. I did one club and one sport for the majority of my life. No national honor societies, nothing like that. It was like top 10% at my middle of nowhere Illinois high school. And I was still able to land a job at what is now the best company I've ever worked for, internships or not, halfway through my fall quarter. Not semester, quarter. Like before Halloween. As with any job, if you don't do anything to set yourself apart, you're not gonna find luck. But every single company needs computer science. And companies that are in denial about it are going to fall off the face of the earth in a couple of years. If you want to follow what you're passionate about, even if it's something like computer science or business or any of the soft sciences or art majors, then do not listen to the warnings people telling you, oh, be careful. You will find a job. Will it be your dream job when you first graduate? There's a very high chance that that's not the case. But what you can do is work hard, be creative, and follow what you're passionate about. And honestly, part of the reason it's so impossible to find a job nowadays has nothing to do with the oversaturation of the market. It has to do with the fact that a lot of people during COVID didn't put any work in, just skirted by and just existed in the tech space just because. And now they're signal blaring on social media, talking about how the market's oversaturated, everyone needs to get out, I can't find a job even though I worked for 10 years at Google, but they didn't do anything. Do you see what I'm saying? You don't have to work at a big company. You don't have to go to a good school. Or you don't even, I had a 2.5 GPA when I graduated. You just need to be personable, be unique, be creative, show that you're passionate. Those intangible things are what actually matter when it comes to finding a job. I do not want to hear that the market's oversaturated when I had 3 straight months of interviews and multiple offers. And again, very little outside school involvement. I just had my personality. So if you see these comments, ignore them. If you really want to go into tech, no matter what, then follow what you want to do. And if you're waiting to see if a stranger on the internet will tell you that what you want to do is dumb, then don't listen to strangers on the internet. Besides, who knows what the economy or the job market will look like 2, 3, 4 years from now when most of you graduate, even 5 or 6 for those high schoolers to follow me. My mom's been doing computer science since like the 80s. And she's never been out of a job, even through all of the, economy crashes, housing market crashes, ins and outs of all the different kinds of presidents. There is always a way, hell or high water, to do what you want to do. And that does not change when it comes to computer science.
Juicy!